Welcome to Plot Twist, your place for quick summaries of movies with jaw-dropping twists. Let's dive in.
Assemble.
The movie begins with Barton training his daughter Lily on how to use a bow. His wife and the rest of his children were in front of him, preparing breakfast to eat. Suddenly, his daughter disappeared, and as he searched for her, he was shocked to find that his wife and all his children had disappeared as well. Afterward, we see Iron Man and Nebula on a spaceship lost in space. This happened after Thanos killed half of the universe's population, including a large number of Avengers. Iron Man decided to record a message for his wife Pepper to bid her farewell, hoping someone might find it later and see his message. They ran out of food and the oxygen in the spaceship was going to run out the next day. Exhausted, he fell asleep, convinced he might not wake up again, believing it to be his last day alive. Suddenly, a bright light woke him up, and as it approached the spaceship, he was surprised to see Captain Marvel. She pulled the spaceship with all her strength until she brought it back to Earth to the Avengers headquarters, where the remaining Avengers and Pepper were waiting for him. He was clearly very weak from the battle against Thanos, and from being in space for 22 days without food or water. He lashed out at Captain America because, at one point, he tried to create their own Ultron, but they opposed him at the time. He had warned them of an extraterrestrial invasion, saying they wouldn't be able to withstand it, which resulted in them losing half of the world's population. None of them knew where Thanos was, since he had opened a portal and disappeared completely. Due to the excessive effort, Iron Man collapsed, and they immediately sedated him so he could rest. Captain Marvel told them she would go kill Thanos once she found out where he was, but Captain America and Natasha told her to wait so they could go together. Nebula revealed that she knew where Thanos was. She explained that he always said that once his mission was complete, he would go live in the garden. Rocket confirmed that a massive energy surge had been detected from that planet, meaning Thanos was there. Captain Marvel suggested they go there and retrieve the stones to bring back everyone who had died. Thor admired Marvel's approach and reassured the team that she would help them. They decided to head to the planet where Thanos was living, and Captain Marvel went ahead to confirm he was there alone. Indeed, Thanos was there, completely alone without any armies or anyone with him. We see him gathering food from the land and heading back home to cook and eat. It was noticeable that his health wasn't in the best condition, and we will later understand why. Suddenly, Captain Marvel attacked him, grabbing him by the neck, while Bruce emerged and held his arm. Thor wasted no time and cut off his hand to take the stones before Thanos could use them against them. But Groot was shocked to find that the stones weren't on his arm. They asked him where the stones were, especially since he had used them 2 days ago. They learned that he had used the stones to destroy the stones themselves, meaning they no longer existed. Thor, enraged, decided to cut off Thanos' head, as he had previously threatened to do if he ever wanted to take revenge. After 5 years in San Francisco, we see Dr. Hank's van. Luckily, a rat entered the van and accidentally pressed the button that opened the portal for Scott to return from the quantum realm. When he came out onto the street, he was shocked by the scene before him and didn't understand what was happening. He saw papers attached to trees listing the names of the missing and continued walking until he reached the mass graves. He was stunned to find that each grave listed 100 missing persons, though their bodies weren't there. He began searching for his daughter Cassie's name, but was shocked to find his own name listed among the missing. He was deeply confused. When he reached his house, he was relieved to find that Cassie was still alive. She couldn't believe she was seeing her father again after 5 years. James informed Natasha that they had found a warehouse full of gang members' corpses in Mexico, confirming it was Barton. She asked him to find out his exact location, and it was evident she was deeply affected. Captain America came to check on her and sat with her for a while, but they were surprised to see Scott standing in front of their headquarters, trying to remind them of who he was so they would let him in and explain what had happened. Neither of them could believe he was still alive. He then explained quantum physics to them, saying he had entered the quantum realm because he could shrink his size. When he entered 5 years ago, he couldn't get out because of what Thanos had done, killing Hope, who was supposed to bring him back. He suggested they use this loophole to travel back in time, before Thanos appeared and collect the Infinity Stones for their benefit. However, since they didn't understand this concept, they decided to go to Tony for help. Tony, however, seemed uninterested, as he had already returned to live with his wife and daughter and wasn't willing to risk everything again to save the world at the expense of losing his family. He told them their idea was crazy and impossible to execute in reality, saying Scott was lucky to have returned from the quantum realm. Captain America understood Tony's position and felt it was his right after everything he had endured in the last battle against Thanos. They decided to approach Bruce, thinking he might have the same mindset as Tony and could help them. It turned out that Bruce had managed to control the Hulk, living in his body and wearing clothes like a human. They presented their idea to him, asking for his help to travel back in time. Bruce also thought it was a crazy idea, but at least he agreed to try it with them, hoping it could be a turning point for the world. Meanwhile, Tony was reflecting on what they had said, especially since he cared about Peter Parker, who was Spider-Man, and wanted to bring him back. He began experimenting to see if it was really possible to travel back in time. To his surprise, the model succeeded against his expectations, proving they could travel back in time as Scott had suggested. He shared what had happened with his wife, saying he wanted to help the team save the world, but would leave the choice to her. If she disagreed, he would abandon the idea. All his devices are in the water, and he will go to sleep without worrying about them, but he gives her the freedom to choose. If she disagrees, he will throw all his devices into the water and go to sleep without worrying about them. But Pepper knows him well and is sure that he won't live comfortably unless he helps the team. Bruce had started his experiment with Scott and decided to send him back in time by a week to familiarize him with the machine. But the first time he returned, he was a little boy. Then they sent him back again, and he came back as an old man. Finally, he returned as a baby. After one last attempt, they brought him back to normal, and Bruce thought his experiment was a success. At this point, Tony decided to help them. So he went to the Avengers Tower and asked Captain if Scott had turned into a child or not, because he knew their experiment had a flaw. He told him he would help them, but not at the expense of his family. The moment he felt things were getting out of control, he would withdraw. So they decided to gather the remaining team members to start the strongest battle we'll see in Avengers history. Bruce and Rocket went to a city called Asgard to retrieve Thor from there. Valkyrie informed them that Thor was no longer fit for this task because he had become an alcoholic and his health had deteriorated. Indeed, when they went to him, they found him overweight from sitting around too much. He introduced them to his friends, Meek and Korg, who lived with him in the same house. Bruce asked him to come with them to help fix what Thanos had done. Thor got angry and told them never to mention his name again in his presence. Korg confirmed that no one here mentioned his name. However, Bruce and Rocket managed to convince him to come with them and help. In Japan, we see someone killing mafia men who were ruining the city and dealing in contraband. He reached their leader and told him he would kill him to save the city's people from his evil and that of others like him. He killed him easily after finishing off all his men. Natasha suddenly appeared behind him, and we learn that it's Barton. Natasha had come to bring him back to the team. At the headquarters, we see the entire team gathered, discussing what exactly they would do. Barton decided to test it himself by going back in time to ensure they could bring anything from the past to the future. Indeed, Barton went back in time, arrived at his house, and picked up a glove lying on the ground. At that moment, he heard the voice of his daughter, Lila. But before he could reach her, Bruce brought him back. Everyone was surprised that he returned with the glove in his hand, meaning their experiments succeeded. They began identifying the locations and times when the stones appeared to retrieve them, before Thanos could get to them in the past. Each of them shared information about the stones' locations, and they were ready for the mission. We learned that the Power Stone is on Vormir, the Reality Stone is on Asgard, and the Space, Mind, and Time Stones are in New York. They divided themselves into 3 teams to collect the stones and return at the same time. The first team went back to 2012, during the time Loki was attacking Earth. We see the team consisting of Captain America, Tony, Bruce, and Scott. Hulk went to get the stone from Doctor Strange, but was surprised to find the Ancient On. Instead, when he asked her for the stone, she struck him and separated Bruce from Hulk's body to communicate with him. He tried hard to convince her to give him the stone to save the world, but she refused. When he told her that Doctor Strange had given the stone to Thanos, she didn't believe him at first. Once she confirmed that he had indeed done so, she decided to return Bruce to Hulk's body and gave him the stone. Meanwhile, Tony and Scott had reached the location of Loki's scepter after the Avengers captured him. Scott shrank down to enter Iron Man's suit and disable it so they could take the Tesseract stone from him. Since Hulk couldn't go with them in the elevator, they asked him to take the stairs down 80 floors. The Hydra team had Loki's scepter, but Captain confronted them and told them that the secretary had entrusted him with this operation. None of them agreed to give him the case, but he knew they were Hydra agents. When he told them so, they agreed to give him the case. Scott managed to enter Tony's suit, disable it, and make the case fall so they could take it. Indeed, he did so, and threw the case towards Tony and their team. But at that moment, Hulk came down, broke the door in anger after descending 80 floors, and the case fell and opened. The stone rolled under Loki, who seized the opportunity, grabbed the stone, and disappeared with it. As for Captain, he was surprised to find himself facing his past self. The older version of him thought it was Loki in disguise, and a fierce battle broke out between them. Since they were equally matched, being the same person, Captain managed to defeat his older self with the scepter, took it, and left to continue the mission. Thor and Rocket went back to 2013 on the planet Asgard, where Thor's girlfriend was, along with the Reality Stone. Thor met his mother who had died, and it was a touching moment. However, she realized he was from the future and accepted the situation because witches had raised her and she could see things no one else could. During this time, Rocket retrieved the stone and escaped from the guards until he reached Thor. Before they returned, Thor summoned his strength to retrieve his old hammer. He succeeded and returned with the stone. Natasha, Clint, James, and Nebula went to Vormir for the Power Stone. However, Nebula and James stayed behind until someone named Quill arrived to show them the stone's location. We learned they were in 2014, the same year Thanos was searching for the Power Stone. We see Nebula in a battle with her sister Gamora. Gamora told her that their father wanted them because he had discovered the stone's location. Thanos appeared and assigned them this mission. Nebula contacted James, informing him that Thanos was searching for the stone with them. Gamora thought it was a malfunction in her body due to the battle, but Thanos, being no fool, decided to access her memories and discovered there were two versions of Nebula. One was with him now, and the other was from the future, 9 years ahead. He learned that she had allied with the Avengers and found out the locations of all the stones through Nebula's memories. Nebula and James reached the stone's location, took it, and decided to return. However, Nebula couldn't return with James. Thanos saw their approach after destroying the world and learned they had gathered the stones, ultimately killing him. He asked Nebula to help him to prove her loyalty. Meanwhile, the future Nebula realized that Thanos knew of their presence and tried to alert the team quickly. But she was surprised when Thanos' ship appeared above her and abducted her onto his ship. The captain found out that Loki had taken the stone and disappeared, causing their mission to fail. For the mission to succeed, they needed all 6 stones, but they didn't have enough particles to go further back in time. Tony then came up with the idea to travel to 1970, where they could retrieve the stone and find the particles needed to return to the present. They sent Scott back to their facility with the scepter, while Tony and the captain traveled to 1970. They arrived at a military base, where Tony went underground to retrieve the stone, successfully acquiring it. Meanwhile, the captain searched for the particles to return to the future and found 11 samples, taking 4 of them. During this time, the captain entered Peggy Carter's office and saw her, longing to continue his life with her, but realizing he couldn't because of the mission. Natasha and Clint arrived at Vormir, where the stone's guardian informed them that a sacrifice was needed to obtain the stone. They debated how to ensure the Guardian's words were true. Natasha recalled that Thanos had returned without his daughter Gamora after retrieving the stone, confirming the Guardian's claim. Both Clint and Natasha fought each other, each wanting to sacrifice themselves for the other's survival. Despite Clint's efforts to stop her, Natasha was determined, tying him with a rope as she dangled from his hand. She asked him to let her go, and then threw herself off the cliff, securing the Soul Stone in Clint's possession. When they all returned with the 6 stones, they discovered Clint had returned without Natasha, leaving everyone deeply saddened by her loss, as she was important to each of them. They resolved to complete the mission to honor her sacrifice. Tony constructed a gauntlet to hold the stones, but the challenge was deciding who would snap their fingers to reverse the events of the past 3 years. They ruled out Thor due to his weakened state from excessive drinking and chose Hulk instead. Hulk wore the gauntlet, enduring immense pain from the energy surge, but persevering until he snapped his fingers. As Hulk collapsed, Nebula opened a portal from 2012, allowing Thanos to arrive and seize the stones. The Avengers realized this Nebula was from the past, as they had imprisoned the future Nebula in 2012. Clint received a call from his wife confirming the mission's success, but they were soon attacked by Thanos' ship, which destroyed their base with a massive missile strike. The Avengers were buried under the rubble, but Clint managed to secure the gauntlet and fled from Thanos' alien creatures. Thanos demanded Nebula bring him the stones, while Gamora teamed up with the future Nebula to stop him. Meanwhile, Captain America, Tony, and Thor confronted Thanos, who was sitting calmly, waiting for them. Thanos explained that their refusal to accept reality had brought him back, this time with all the stones. He vowed to destroy humanity to prevent anyone from undoing his work again. The 3 heroes engaged Thanos in a fierce battle, but he was still strong and overpowered them. At that time, Clint was trying to escape from Thanos' army and blew up the passage with them, and the rest came out after him from the tunnel, but he killed them all and threw himself on the ground from exhaustion. And as soon as he saw Nebula, he gave her the stones on the basis that she was theirs. But he was surprised that she was talking to Thanos, and they knew that the stones were with her. And before she killed him, Gamora stopped her, and Nebula of the future appeared in order to. They convince her that this is wrong, but she was afraid of Thanos and decided to kill Gamora. But Nebula killed her before she could do that, and Thor gathered his power and charged Iron Man with it to destroy Thanos. But Thanos was able to block their attack, and when Thor threw the hammer at him, Thanos lifted Iron Man and faced his chest towards it, so he was destroyed and fell to the ground. Thanos hit Captain America then grabbed a wall and pulled him to the ground. Thor was nearly killed when Thanos used his new weapon against him, but Captain America wielded Thor's old hammer, surprising everyone. Captain America launched a powerful attack, but Thanos recovered and broke Captain America's shield, leaving him vulnerable. Thanos then summoned his massive army to Earth. Just as hope seemed lost, Doctor Strange opened a portal, and Black Panther emerged with Falcon. More portals opened, bringing Marvel's heroes from across the universe to join the fight. This was only possible because the stones had been gathered and used to bring back everyone Thanos had killed. The final battle began as the two armies clashed. Captain America instructed Clint to protect the stones while they activated Scott's time machine, which would take about 10 minutes. Iron Man fought a giant creature, but was saved by Spider-Man. Tony embraced Peter Parker, relieved to see him alive again. Meanwhile, Thanos discovered Clint had the stones, but Black Panther took them to protect them. Thanos managed to reach Black Panther and knock the stones from his grasp, only for Wanda to confront him, seeking revenge for what he had taken from her. Despite not knowing her, Thanos struggled to withstand her attacks as she unleashed her fury. As the battle raged on, Spider-Man managed to retrieve the stones at the last moment, continuing the fight against Thanos and his army. It controls Thanos, and when he couldn't escape from it, he ordered his men to fire all the missiles at it. Even though a large number of his army would die, he didn't care. Indeed, the sky rained missiles, and the situation began to spiral out of control. After they lost hope of stopping the ship from firing missiles, they were surprised to see it targeting something coming at them from space. It turned out to be Captain Marvel, who arrived and destroyed Thanos' ship with her first attack, bringing it crashing down to Earth. She descended to Peter to take the stones from him and protect them, and everyone joined her to ensure no one could take the stones from her. She was on her way to Scott to return the stones to their place and destroy anything in their path. It was clear that the remaining members of Thanos' army outnumbered those who had died by far. Thanos tried to stop Captain Marvel before she could reach her destination, but they all attacked him and brought him to the ground until she passed by him. However, Thanos decided to destroy the vehicle containing the time machine to ensure the stones remained in place until he could deal with them. Indeed, the stones fell in front of him, and Tony began attacking him. Thor joined in and controlled him with the hammer. Captain Marvel jumped on him and grabbed him, but Thanos was determined to prove he was stronger than all of them. He indeed overpowered them. Captain Marvel attacked him again before he could use the stones, but he struck her too, throwing her far away. He put the gauntlet on his hand, and just as he was about to snap his fingers, she returned and grabbed his hand with all her strength. But this time, he pulled the power stone into his other hand to strike her, ensuring she wouldn't get up again. He returned the stone to its place and gathered his strength to snap his fingers. Iron Man tried to stop him one last time, but Thanos struck him and threw him aside. When he snapped his fingers, he was shocked to find that nothing happened because the stones were no longer with him. The stones were with Iron Man, as his suit could extract the stones from their place. This was the big surprise for Thanos when Iron Man snapped his fingers. From that moment, all of Thanos' monsters and army began to disappear, turning to dust, just as he had done to humans before. Thanos stood in shock, watching everything around him vanish until he too began to disappear, just like the others. Unfortunately, the power of the stones took a toll on Tony, causing him to die on the spot. Peter Parker was deeply affected by his death, and Pepper Potts bid him farewell after he succeeded in saving the world from destruction. Everyone attended his funeral, overwhelmed with sadness for losing one of the most important heroes in the Avengers team. And with that, we conclude the fourth part of the Avengers movie series. If you enjoyed the summary, please like the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to follow all the new movies with us.